Welcome back, folks, to another Hypno Lab. This month, I'm here with Gaspar and Elvis. Say hi to everyone, guys.
Hi, everyone.
All right. So we're going to be doing Ericksonian hypnosis again today, and we're going to work our way through a case study first, talk a little bit about it, and then we'll start breaking it down into kind of Ericksonian protocols that we might be able to use. So with that thought in mind, Elvis, would you like to read out our case study for us today, please?
Yes, I'll go ahead. So Jen is a 40-year-old woman and has a high-profile job. She works with an international organization. A few months ago, she ended a romantic relationship and has recently met someone, and she feels she's ready for dating.
Good.
Right.
Keep going. Yep.
She feels all her previous relationships have ended because she ends up being the provider and the guys she's dating being dependent on her. And this screws up the relationship dynamic, and in the end, screws up the whole relationship. She always wants to provide because she earns a wonderful salary or income and cannot just sit back if the guy she's dating is struggling. However, the guys she's dated before have tended to be jobless and sometimes jobless with a family. So she ends up supporting the guy and his family. In the end, she feels she's taking on too much for other people. She starts to resent herself because she feels she just cannot abandon the guy and the family. But this pattern has repeated itself in the last 3 relationships that she's had. Despite her job, which means she's moved to different countries, dated people in different countries, but it's the same problem, same pattern. To the extent that she supports the guy and the family up to 6 months after the relationship has ended.
Wow.
Now that she's ready to start dating again, she wants to find out if hypnotherapy can assist her. An additional note is she's curious if hypnotherapy can assist her to deal with the stress at work because of her high-profile job, which means there's a lot of boardroom level conflicts, and has a high level of stress.
Perfect. All right. So are you both kind of clear on what we're doing here? There's basically 2 questions. Stress is like the lower level, and then the main one's going to be essentially a form of relationship coaching, right? But what do you think, first and foremost, Gaspar, you're the MD in the group. Do you think this has any earmarks of a medical problem that we need a medical referral for?
Not exactly medical referral, although I would say that there could be some, issues that are dealt in, for example, psychiatry also.
Of course. And this is where there's lots of overlap between different styles of therapy and coaching and so on, right? But the main thing here is, legally speaking, there is, unless you're in a country like Israel, where anything being vaguely therapeutic looking, including hypnotherapy, must be done under the purview of a psychologist, then this is something we can treat quite, or take care of quite comfortably in most countries. But of course, big caveat, please check your local laws as always, right? So what are we dealing with here? What's the kind of nub of the issue?
I would say some personality traits that are not in favor to her.
Go on.
Yeah. So she's obviously like a magnet for partners that become kind of dependent on her, and she likes to provide for them. So it's kind of like, we have to break the cycle somehow. Yeah.
And then, so Elvis, anything you want to add to that?
I just also get a hint a bit about boundaries, because she keeps on supporting,
of course,
that guy and the family way after the relationship has ended.
Of course. So what do you think, could we say can we take a guess at what's underlying all of this? Why does this keep happening to her? Just, and I'm not looking at any particular Freudian, Jungian, Adlerian type theories. I'm just looking at a general concept of how could someone re-experience essentially the same relationship problems 3 times in a row, whilst they've gone and dated in 3 different countries with totally different cultures, etc. How does someone manage to keep experiencing the same situation again? What do you guys think?
Unconscious projections.
Say a little more.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, we all have different kind of past experiences that build our personalities. So we then project things or traits that are familiar to us. And we how to say, we get the relationships that are kind of familiar to us from our own childhood, so to say.
Yes, exactly. So this is a form of a pattern that's most likely been imprinted, most likely in childhood. So I'd be very interested to find out what her dad was like, because chances are high that that is where she got this sort of pattern from. Very high, not necessarily going to happen. It's not necessarily so, but chances are really high. If I had to bet on it, I'd bet on dad being always financially struggling and always figuring out a way of getting some woman to look after him financially, so that the family was okay, right? And then what she's essentially doing is she's repeating that pattern. She's playing out the same role, and then she's stuck in a cycle because of it, right? There's nothing. Let me ask you this: is there any problem with someone dating someone who has no particular income and then taking care of them and their family? Is that inherently a problem with that kind of relationship dynamic? No, exactly. So then we've got a second layer. So we've got one layer, which is how is she creating this, right? So inside of her is like a little theater, a little play is playing out. And in this play, the woman provides financial support, another kind of support, right? As a provider. The male is struggling financially, and we'll go into the dynamic of how she will recreate that in the outer world, because it's playing out inside her all the time. When conditions arise outside of herself that fit that pattern, suddenly she starts getting interested. And that's our key here, right? She gets interested when that pattern plays out. Now, if this pattern was satisfying to her, there'd be no problem. She wouldn't see us, right? There's plenty of people who actually quite like this pattern, right? Typically, it's a reverse role. A lot of males actually like this, having a pattern where they get to be the provider, they get to look after someone, and it's very fulfilling to them, right? I'm not saying it's just guys who would enjoy that. I'm sure there's some women out there as well. But in terms of just the statistics, the preponderance will be towards guys being more in this other direction, right? So there's clearly a second layer to this, and this is where the conflict arises. And what do you think that second layer is, now that we've framed it this way?
I'm thinking in terms, I don't know if that's correct, but I'm thinking in terms that she from some kind of hero role, she became actually a victim of her own,
exactly.
So in other
relationship. Exactly. So what she's happening is she's getting trapped in this pattern. She's not satisfied by it. She wants something else, but she can never get it because she keeps playing. She keeps playing a role in someone else's play. If that makes sense, right? And so she can't explore a different story because this story is just constantly going round and round and round in circles. And this is where she's frustrated, right? Now, where is the story playing out primarily?
In herself.
Yeah. In which part of herself? What would the hypnotist call that part?
Unconscious mind.
Yes, exactly. Now, this is important. Why? Because this answers the question, can hypnosis help?